Okay, this video is about, I'm going to call it a mental shutdown, only because I can't think of the medical term. And it was kind of an odd situation. So last year, this is 2019. Well, actually, let me go back a little bit further than that really quickly. I just want to say that one of the issues that I had because of keeping things in, things that happened to me as a child, was that I kind of stunted my mental development. I don't know how to say this, but it's kind of like I've been a child. I've always, I never stood on my own 2 feet. I always had someone there to watch over me, and I didn't have to take the lead in anything, and that's kind of how it was. And I remember, I think I was 40 at the time. Yeah, it's that long. And I thought, something has to change. You just know when something's not right in your life, and depression and all that stuff, and it never went away. It was always there, even with that stuff. You would think, hey, you have no worries, but you have to grow up. You have to become an adult, and that brings depression just on itself. So I made the decision that I was going to start taking charge of my life, and I did. I moved. I got the better paying job, and we were trying to find just a good spot for us. So we moved to several states, and I got even my salary went up and up and up, like double. My first job was double any other job that I had as far as salary, and it went up and up and up from there, and I was getting paid more, and it was great. Like I was loving it. But there was so much change, and again, I didn't address it. I didn't acknowledge that, yeah, it's scary. Yeah, like it's all these feelings I just buried in. It's like, just keep on. It's like with the horses with the blinders, just keep going forward and just do what you're doing, and things are great. And I did, this is how stunted I was. I got my license when I think I just turned 41. And everyone always thought I had like DUI issues, or my license was suspended. No, I just never had one. I always found a reason not to get one. So I got my license. I'm driving, and we moved to Florida and California, and like all these, and it was great. And I just remember one day I went to work, and I'm in the parking lot, parked my car. And I just remember it was like my car won't shut off. And I couldn't pull the key out of the thing. And I didn't know what was going on. And I remember I drove around the parking lot, thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. But finally, my coworker, we used to walk in together. So she comes over, knocks on the window, and goes, "Hey, you coming?" And I'm like, "Hey, I can't get my car to shut off." And she kind of looked at me like, and it was kind of like, "What are you talking about?" That kind of look. And I just said, "Oh, whatever. I would just leave the keys in there," because I was going to be late. So I just get out the car, close the door, go on to work. So I would have panic attacks. That started really when I started to become an adult. I started having panic attacks, and at this point they had gotten really bad, and I'll probably do another video just about the panic attacks. But anyway, so I go to work, we have our morning meeting, I start having an attack. So I do what I always did, was I went to my car, and I would sit down in there for maybe 5 to 10 minutes until it went over, and go back in. So I do that, I'm in my car. Then there's a knock on the window, and it's my coworker, and actually another coworker, and they're both there, and they're like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And that's when I look at the clock, and I realize I had been in there for a couple of hours. Honestly, I don't remember that time in the car. So I get into my coworker's truck. They drive me up to the office, pretty close, right at the door. So I go in, and I was told later that I'm sitting down at my desk and I'm just staring off. So they got nervous and they called the EMTs. The EMTs show up and they're asking me questions like, what's my address and who the president of the United States is. And I couldn't remember any of it. Nothing. So they go, okay, we're gonna take you to the hospital just so they can look at you, and we want to call your contact person so they can meet you there. And my phone, I had the face recognition, but I also had the code, and that's what I was used to using. And I couldn't remember the code, and I remember I got angry at the EMTs, and I didn't want them to know it was because of the code, but that's why I was angry, because at myself, because like, what's wrong? Why can't you remember the code? So luckily, my coworker took my phone, put it up to my face, opened it up, and called my contact. So taking me to the hospital, see my contact. I remember waiting in the emergency room, and again, this was I want to say like maybe Thursday morning, maybe. I don't remember anything until Friday night. Nothing. I was told that I had like a MRI and a CAT scan and a spinal tap, and they did all this stuff. I don't remember any of it. I do remember like again Friday night, the nurse coming in asking me questions. So at this point, I was conscious enough to where I knew what was going on, but she would show me pictures like of a lion and say what kind of name this animal. I couldn't. I knew it was getting better. Like I knew it was a feline, but I couldn't. Tiger, lion, leopard, cheetah. Like it was, I couldn't decipher which cat it was, which was, and I was so mad. Like even the address, what city do you live in? I'm like, oh, I know this. Like it was just weird. It was kind of like the information was there. I just could not access it the right way. And so that was Friday. And I think Saturday morning I woke up and everything got better. I remembered everything. The doctor came in. He said every test they ran, everything was fine. He could not give me a reason of why that happened to me. And it wasn't just like I again, it's all a blur. My memories blocked all of that stuff. I couldn't remember anything, but I also couldn't walk. My speech, like I couldn't really speak. It took, I kind of felt like a baby. So I left because I was actually moving to another state, got another job. And so I drove to another state. And that incident is what caused, because again, it got to the point, like even with my new job, where my brain it took a while for me to get back to normal. You'd have to show me something 3 or 4 times, when normally it's like that's one of my best skills, is that I learned things like that, and that was gone. Like it was horrible. And so I kept going to the doctors for them to try to figure out what was wrong, because I thought it was something physical that was attacking, happening to my brain. And it turns out that it was depression and anxiety and PTSD and all these things that have happened to me that I didn't address any of it. And I think what happened was that because I was a child, because I was protecting myself, I wasn't addressing anything, but I wasn't growing and I wasn't moving. And so I was still that kid, the one who got molested, the one who was raped. All that was still, I was still stuck there. And going through this process of trying to grow up and become my own man added all of this extra stress that you normally would go through as you're growing up, that I went through everything in the small frame of time. So the license, the job, the taking care of the bills and the household, and all of this stuff that most people lean into, it was just happening, boom. And again, I wanted it, I needed for that to happen. So it was a blessing in disguise. But again, that's my advice, is that if I had dealt with all this stuff, I'm going through it now. I'm discovering how these things that happened to me when I was 8, when I was 15, when I was 20, like all this stuff is affecting me, has affected me throughout this entire time, and I'm just now at 43 unpacking all of this stuff. So that's my advice to you. Deal with it early on, because you don't want to waste your life. Because that's kind of how I feel. I kind of feel like everything was frozen. I was a kid, I was stuck there, and all this stuff happened, and I didn't process any of it. Like me being optimistic, I wanted to focus on good stuff, and so that's all I did. While inside, all the bad stuff was just eating away. So it's not normal. It's not a normal development for a person. So deal with it. You have to deal with it. It's not going to go away, and it's going to affect you, and it's going to leave a trail of damage that you're just going to have to clean up later. So that's my advice to you, is deal with stuff as it happens. However, I'm not an expert, so talk to someone, but deal with it.